got the vehicle here. We've got the suspect. Okay, that's okay. We've got a very graphic situation here. We've got a black SUV. We've got a long rifle in the street. You can see that there is blood. There's been the suspect is down. Right now, that's gonna be as wide as we're gonna get it. But you can see there's a black SUV in the center of the vehicle. We're gonna get a street for you in a second. This is on a east-west on this.
Welcome to the Worldwide Endtime Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Brian DeLory, and I thank you all for tuning in to the program this evening. And unless you've been in a coma for the past 13, 14 hours, you are aware of the events that transpired in the city of San Bernardino, California today, where 14 people at last count were killed at a holiday Christmas party at a health department, I believe it was. At the last time I checked the news, 2 of the shooters were dead, and may they rot in hell. It's unclear as to whether or not there's a third shooter. It's also unclear whether or not this is in any way related to terrorism. Now, any way you want to look at it, it's related to terrorism for the simple fact that incidents such as these strike fear or terror in the hearts of the people of this country. And so it's an act of terrorism, whether or not it's Islamic jihadist terrorism or some other form of terrorism. At its root, it's terrorism any way you slice it. And of course, as I was doing the research for the program this evening, I came across a story which I was originally going to upload to use as a sound clip in the podcast, but the moron who posted this was cursing too much, and so there was just no way I could justify putting that on the air. This is a Christian program, and so I couldn't use it, but he did make a very valid point that these are staged shootings, some people believe. I don't believe that, but he believes it. But I do believe that it is entirely possible that some of the people who commit these acts of violence are possibly plants used by the government to commit these acts of violence. And then, of course, the government responds by saying, well, the moron in chief responds by saying we need to take the guns away. Sure, that's just exactly what we need to do, like in France, where 118 people were just killed a couple of weeks ago, and where the gun laws are the strictest. That's what we need here, so more people can die. You see, this all is by design. I believe that there are people in this world who are at the very top echelons of either government or society, and they are the ones who are orchestrating these acts of violence. They are the ones who are orchestrating the liberalism that, or I should say, they are responsible for putting in office the liberal operatives who will do their bidding. And so they had their liberal, oh my God, I'm having trouble speaking. They had their liberal plants everywhere, such as Merkel in Germany. She wants to bring in hundreds of thousands of refugees, all of them from Muslim countries, of course. All of them, 99% of them, are probably terrorists who will, once they are accepted by that country, will carry out acts of terrorism. Obama, the idiot in chief, wants to do the same thing to our country. And so these things that are now happening in our country and other countries of the world, I believe are designed to instill fear in the people so that the people begin to cry out, do something, do something, do something. And then the governments respective governments here in the United States or overseas, wherever it happens to be, they'll say, well, the best thing we can do is take the guns from the people. And so the people now will be sitting ducks. And so then they will be killed in even more vast numbers than they have been up to this point. And that's exactly what Obama has in mind. Now, I cannot even share with you the contempt I feel for this man and his anti-American wife and their soon-to-be their children who are soon to be probably brought into politics to carry out the same desires as their stupid father and their stupid mother. And so I have nothing but contempt for these people. And I wish them the worst. I can tell you this. And I only wish that the things that are now happening in this country as a result of Obama's inaction and as a result of his hatred for this country, I wish that these things would happen to the congressmen who are supposed to be representing us but don't. I wish it would happen to them first, and then they might have some desire to do something about the idiot in chief, because they're the only ones who can put a stop to this madness, and they won't do it because they've been sold out to the highest bidder. And so they've been bought and sold to the highest bidder, and they will never do it. There's never any word of impeachment. Now, I realize that impeachment proceedings take a while, and Obama only has another 13 months in office, and then he's out. But that's if you believe that he's going to leave office quietly, because it was already posted on Facebook yesterday, and I believe the post is on I have to upload it to my ministry page. I don't believe it's uploaded there yet, where Obama is already considering ways he can stay in office. Now, I told you a couple of months back that he was being very coy. I think it was about 4 months ago, actually, and he was overseas, and I don't remember which country he was in, but he was saying, our Constitution says that I can only run for 2 terms, but I really like what I'm doing. Yeah, he likes destroying America. So he was hinting at the possibility of him remaining in office. So I believe a lot of what is going on, at the very least, will be used as reasons for him to implement martial law. I mean, I think what Obama is hoping for is that the American people will get so sick and tired of these acts of violence that they'll begin to rise up. Those who are armed will begin to rise up and take their frustrations out on those who deserve it, like the jihadist Muslims. And then the people will take to the streets. There will be riots in the streets because Obama does nothing to protect this country or help the citizens of this country. I mean, this is what I believe Obama's hoping for. I'm not hoping for that, because it will just give him a reason to implement martial law whereby he can suspend all elections and then remain in power indefinitely. But all things being equal, Obama is supposed to have another 13 months in office, and then when it's only going to be, another 10 months or 11 months, and we will hold our election, and whoever is elected, I pray to God it's Donald Trump, because he's the only one out there putting his neck on the line, and he is the only one who will be ruthless enough to deal with these terrorists and the leaders of this world. If that happens, well, then we have some hope. But Obama is a snake in the grass, a son of the devil, and he's doing everything he can in his power to try and pull some dirty shenanigans to try and stay in office. And I just hope it doesn't happen. And I didn't mean to digress into this, because the focus today should be the victims of these shootings. I feel a lot of compassion for them. I mean, these people were doing nothing more than celebrating at a Christmas party when they were brutally gunned down by these pieces of human debris. Again, I am glad that they're, at least I have the satisfaction of knowing that they're rotting in hell as I speak. And I often wonder, there was a man and woman who were killed. And if they are terrorists, the terrorists believe that the males inherit 72 virgins. Now, what do the females inherit? 72 male virgins, or are they excluded from that because they're females and, Islam treats their women like dirt. And so it could be that that's not for them. So whatever it is, they've gone on to their reward from Allah, if indeed this was an act of terrorism, if they were terrorists. I mean, if you consider the story, they were wearing tactical gear and, all these things. So it looks to me like this is the typical terrorist modus operandi, and it looks to me like in the coming days we will probably hear that it was indeed an act of terrorism, but that remains to be seen. The most important thing is the fact that these things are happening, and they're happening as the Bible predicted. Remember Matthew 24? Jesus said, in the last days there will be distress of nations with perplexity. And I believe the reason we will have perplexity is because these problems have a very simple solution. A very simple solution. And rather than implementing the solutions necessary to solve the problems, the idiot in chief who doesn't want the problem solved. I should take that back. Donald Trump constantly criticizes Obama of gross incompetence. Well, I wish it were just gross incompetence, but I really and truly believe that's what is now happening. What Obama's been up to ever since the day he took office was purposely designed so he could destroy this nation. And that's what he's been up to. And if you look at his track record ever since he took office, that is all that he's been doing. One destructive move after the other. Not one move that this man has made, not one decision, not one policy, not one anything in the past 7 years has been in favor of America. It's always to destroy America, to make things worse for America, to make things worse for the American people. And I pray to God that man is held accountable, him and his wife, both, and his children as well, because they probably are of the same mindset that their stupid, ignorant mother and father are. And I pray to God that judgment falls on that family, because if anything, if these people ever deserve, if there were ever two people on earth that deserve to be judged, it's Barack and Michelle Obama, because they hate this country and they managed to get in power here so they could implement their desires for this country. And now he probably figured when he took office, I might be able to swing it so I retain power indefinitely. And so that's probably what he's up to as we speak. But the Bible told us that these days were coming, and they're now here, unfortunately. And I don't know what's going to happen, obviously. I'm just a finite human being. Something tells me, as much as I don't want to believe it, that Donald Trump will not be the next president of the United States, that something is going to happen either to prevent the election from taking place, which is the most likely scenario in my mind, or something else even worse that I don't want to go into. But I want to say to you, this to everyone listening, you need to pray like you've never prayed before. If you're in sin, you need to get out of sin. You need to walk closely to the Lord and walk with Him, because the days are evil. Now, it could be that, if America repents, enough people repent, that God will turn the tide of this nation, and we will be blessed. But if we're just doing that for that to happen rather than drawing close to God, then it's gonna be destroyed anyway. God is not going to honor that. But if we truly seek the face of God, the Bible says, "Draw nigh to God, and He will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts, you double-minded." So I believe that if we continue to serve God faithfully and honestly and sincerely, it just may be, we might be able to save our nation. Because what is happening now, I believe, is God's judgment against our country for forsaking Him. And that's what I believe. That's what I see. Now, I'm not a prophet. I don't claim to be a prophet, although I have spoken things in the past, and I really wasn't even intending them as prophecies or, speaking a word from the Lord. I was just saying things, and it must have had some prophetic element to it because it came to pass, and I wasn't even expecting it to come to pass. So I'm not prophesying anything, but I am saying that judging by what has happened over the past 7 years, I don't look for things to get any better. The Bible does not predict that as time goes on, the world will get better. It predicts that as time goes on, the world will get worse. And at some point, the church will be raptured, and then the Antichrist will take over the world and for 7 years, and then Jesus will come and destroy him and set up his kingdom. But until all those things happen, we are living in times that where wickedness is increasing, where sin is increasing, and where sin is, there is judgment. So the judgments will continue to increase. And like I said, we need to be in prayer and doing our best to strengthen our walk with God and to walk closer to Him. But again, I ask you all to pray for the victims of these terrorist attacks, or these attacks, whether they were terrorist attacks as we know them to be, as remains to be seen, but they were definitely acts of terrorism, no matter which way you look at it. But I ask you to pray for the families of these victims, rather, that God will help them and see them through these times. I will not be praying for the victims of the families of the shooters. If you choose to do so, that's your business. I think these people deserve whatever they get. I have no sympathy. And so, you may disagree with me, and you know that I am not one to sit back. If you've been listening to this program for any length of time, you know that I'm not one to sit back and just keep my mouth shut. Things need to be said, and if they need to be said, I'm going to be the one to say them. And I believe right now this country is, everybody knows it already. I don't have to repeat it, but we know that this country is really falling apart at the seams, and only God can save us. And I hope that Donald Trump does get elected and that he does manage to move into the White House, because I know if that happens, America will be saved. That's my belief. Now, truthfully, only God can save this nation. He may use a man to do it, but it's really God who will be working through him to save the nation, not Donald Trump himself. He's just a finite human being. I don't care how many billions he has. There's only so much he can do as a human being. God is in control. And I know, again, this has been a rambling kind of message, but I hope you understand the importance of renewing your relationship with Jesus Christ if you're living in sin, and coming back to God, because the times are evil. And to tell you the truth, you do not know when your number is up. And if it should be up at a time when you are living in disobedience to the Lord, that will be the worst thing that could ever possibly happen to you, because you will spend an eternity in hell. But praise God that 2 individuals that carried out this shooting are dead. May they rot in hell. I wish I could be there to stoke the fire. And I hope it was all worth it to these idiots, because now they're going to spend eternity paying for all of their sins, including this one today. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out the program. I'm not going to talk about my websites tonight or anything else in honor of the victims of these of this shooting. I'll do that some other time, but tonight is not the time for that. Okay, once again, I thank you all for listening, and as always, I leave you with this reminder: keep the faith and defend the truth. Have a good night, everybody.